Oklahoma's got it cleaned up. Kansas has lost 10 straight by nearly 30 points per game. I doubt that changes today, Desmond.
No, it's not going to change today, man. Listen, Puka Williams, the most dynamic player for Kansas, he opted out. One of their top linebackers, Drew Prox, he opted out. I mean, things just look very dismal for Kansas. And like you said, RD, OU, these guys are looking very good, hitting their stride at the right time, both on offense and defense. This one could get ugly really quickly.
Oh, yeah, Des. How about Baylor and Iowa State sticking in the Big 12? Baylor's lost 3 in a row. Now get Iowa State in Ames. Clones coming now, tied for the lead in the Big 12. We're going to see their back, Breece Hall, go over 1,000 yards today, in my opinion. Only chance I feel Baylor has is the turnover margin. They've got to be. It's been a strength of theirs all year. They've second in the Big 12. They got to do a good job there and try to get Charlie Brewer in that passing game going against a defense that's going to apply a lot of pressure against a one-dimensional attack.
And Texas better watch out. Jared Dahey throwing the football, spinning around. Played really well last week. Continues to kind of come to form. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, a big play wide receiver. Texas defense last week. Dude, Joseph Asai was a man. Yep. Asai balled out, 3 sacks, 12 tackles, was all over the field. Sam Ehlinger going to have to play big. It's going to be a great game.
The Big 12 standings are a jumbled mess right now. Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, all with one conference loss. Now, there are a lot of tiebreakers that could go into the mix. Iowa State still has to play Texas. But I am not far from saying that we might wind up with Texas and Oklahoma.
Well,
now I'm
scared.
Well, because I'm scared. I'm scared to death for Texas today against West Virginia, and they can't stumble anymore, and they have a propensity to do so. What do you think in the Big 12 right now?
Close, so close to saying.
So
First of all, one thing we know for certain is one of the two will be there, because one of the two have been there since 1988. By the way, so Lincoln Riley was 5. Like, nobody was alive on either roster, so we know 1 or 2 are going to be there. I don't trust Texas, and this to me is a day where Texas is in Texas mode. We know them as underdogs, and we see them when they come up and they come here, and we oh yeah, okay, Texas is back, and then you don't trust them. Today's going to be a test for Texas.
You got to think they were +4 last week. Their offense struggled, which is rare. You know, of all the Texas being Texas, the offense typically is strong. You know, and I expect them to get back on track today at home against West Virginia. I'm with you, though. I don't trust them long term. I do trust OU. I think OU's gotten over the bumps of kind of growing up and some of the younger players, and I think OU is there. I think Iowa State Bears Ball Club ends up getting out there too, because Kansas State's going to lose. Oklahoma State will lose eventually at Oklahoma. So I think the Big 12 championship game is Iowa State. Bear will be very happy. He'll be dancing here on the set and in Oklahoma.
I tell you what, I think that's a good call. I still got to roll with the Cowboys, though, man. I mean, they control their own destiny right now. The big one is going to be when they play Oklahoma. That's going to be the determining factor if they're going to get in the championship game or not. And they may have to play them twice. Who knows? So I'm thinking that Oklahoma State, they're pretty beat up to an offensive line, but they're still been able to find ways to just generate some offense, especially since Sanders came back in the starting lineup. I still got to roll with my Cowboys. I'm going with Oklahoma State.
They may make it to the championship game, Des, but with Gundy being 2-13 against the Sooners, I'm going to need to see it before I believe that they.
I got you down for Texas and OU.
Let me get by today. If we get by today, we'll see. Bear, how are you stacking this up?
Well, the thing with Oklahoma is they're going to need Kansas State and Iowa State to lose twice. That's the thing, because they lost both of those games.
But why only need one of them?
Right? Well, yes. Yeah. Which.
You feel confident about Kansas State?
I feel confident about Kansas because Iowa State plays Kansas State, so one of them will pick up a loss. The other interesting thing is, remember the Oklahoma State win over Iowa State? That could come in handy, because if Iowa State were to lose to Texas, that would be a second loss for the Cyclones, so maybe Oklahoma State could win a tiebreak with Iowa State.
You got Texas over West Virginia today, coming back home?
That game worries me a whole lot. I like the like beast mode, like Texas mode. I like that call by David. Like that line stinks out loud today. I'd stay far away from that game.
Texas is 1-4 in Austin against West Virginia. 1-4. Road team has won 4 straight games. Hey, I got a little blue liner for real.
That is a blue liner.
You know what? For all of the struggles that Texas has had, Texas A&M is almost like the responsible opposing view in the Lone Star State. They take on South Carolina. I think that Jimbo and Will Muschamp gotten rid of that beach house that they used to co-own. There'll be about 20,000 fans watching. You can see it on ESPN tonight. See A&M's schedule. Auburn is the only team left that has a winning record for the Aggies. Aggies' chances of being a one-loss team to crash the playoff, Kirk.
I don't look at Texas A&M's resume and say, wow, keep an eye on these guys. You know, they've got a real shot to run the table and eventually deserve to be considered as possibly the fourth team or the second team in the SEC. I think they're going to be 8-1 going into Jordan-Hare. I think they're going to be favored to play. They've done a nice job this year of kind of taking that next step. Their breakthrough game, of course, was against Florida. But, Des, I don't know if that resume is going to, at the end of the year, is going to look good enough for them to be able to say, hey, we deserve to be out there. But I do think that they're much better, and they end up getting a real shot of being 9-1 into the year.
Herbie, this is 2020, right? It's going to be the survival of the fittest. It's going to be like the last man standing. So their resume isn't going to be very impressive. Obviously, they can win out. I think they'll beat Auburn, too. But that one early loss to Alabama is going to be the thing that they're going to point to and say, listen, this is the only blemish on our record. We believe that we belong in there. And if they keep playing the way they've been playing, they will pass that eye test, David. And I think it's going to be really hard to keep them out of the college football playoff, depending on what happens with the other conferences, of course.
Well, and that one loss was a beatdown. It was a very uncompetitive game against Alabama. So, I mean, I think that's going to matter. But I will say this. We've talked about Kellen Mond, honestly, about this. He's playing really good football right now. He's starting to get it together. Receivers are catching the football. If that offense can stay hot, and they look really, really good going down the stretch, they'll make a case.
Yeah. We'll have a lot more on the SEC, Florida, Georgia news coming out of that we'll get to in a little bit. But we want to say good morning to Maria Taylor. I can't imagine a better morning or better setting for a big game, Maria.
Reese, I'm so thankful. We don't need coats today. This is like perfect football weather, and I wish I was a little bit closer, but I'm waving to you guys on the set over there. Coming up on College Game Day, we had all of our eyes on the MACtion that took place last night as the MAC returned to action. But there's one game that's going to take over. You had one job. Stay tuned to find out which one. And then, of course, we know that Penn State, Minnesota, and Iowa have yet to win a game this season. The guys will discuss and break down the ups and downs of the Big Ten this season. But first, guys, we know that Veterans Day is coming up on November 11th. Let's get a very special shout out from one of our American heroes.
I'm First Sergeant Jackson from 18th Airborne Corps, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Go Fighting Irish. Rock on Notre Dame.
After 80 years, we've made it the longest lasting. But only you can make a moment last forever. We make it so you can go anywhere and do anything. But only you can chase freedom. Because the truth is, we don't make Jeep. You do.
With employee pricing for all, get $4,495 below MSRP on the 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited.
Time to make your disappointing breakfast your X-Fist. Because Wendy's has your new breakfast love. With a fresh cracked egg on every sandwich and crispy oven